In a small town in western Kentucky called Paducah, artists from all over the country have moved to form the Lowertown Arts District. Here are some of the artists.
I'm Charlotte Irwin. I'm a painter, printmaker, mixed media artist. Predominantly my work revolves around floating a painting on thickened water and then contact printing it off onto paper. The marbling process is fascinating for me. It's totally non-toxic. You're using fluid acrylics on a methylcellulose and water size or bath or slur or slime, some people call it, and you just thin your paints out and apply them directly to the surface of the tank, and then you can manipulate them with styluses or rakes. My favorite two tools are an eyedropper and a chopstick. Then paper is laid on top of the surface and paint contact prints. You raise it up, you rinse it, and you don't wait 3 months for it to dry. I drew into that particular work of art with pencil. And then I explored the different shapes of the torsos and the gestural movements of the imagery I found there and made colorgraph plates. This is a colorgraph plate, and it is built up using the collage technique. So the works are a combination of doing a traditional colorgraph print on top of the painting and then overpainting it and then layering things and then collaging things. I'm a native Kentuckian. I went to school in Kentucky. I started graduate school and pursued printmaking and painting. I moved to Lowertown from Illinois, and it was a return home for me.
My name is Frida Fairchild, and I am a multimedia artist, but I would say primarily a printmaker. I was trained as a painter many years ago, but when I discovered color viscosity printmaking, it spoke to me, and that's what I've done primarily since then. It begins by my creating an image on a matrix or plate, and I can use many ways of doing that. I covered this zinc plate in something that would resist acid, and then everything was removed that I wanted to print, and then it was soaked in acid for quite a long time. I'm going to do what's called pulling a print. First of all, after I've created the matrix, then I must ink it. I'm pushing the pigment into all of the little grooves that I made. After the ink is spread on the plate, then we begin the rather laborious process of removing it. You have to keep rubbing the ink until nothing comes off. The final step in this process, the plate is placed in the press with paper on top of it, and then a series of blankets on top of that, and it is rolled through the press. The pressure of the press is pushing the paper down into all of the grooves. This then is the print that was pulled from the plate.
I'm Nancy Calcutt. I'm a painter, oil painter, and pastel artist. Born and raised in Sturbridge, Massachusetts, and now live in the Lowertown Arts District in Paducah, Kentucky. My work is very strongly figurative. I'm inspired by nature, people, and animals, and a lot of times the interaction of all of those. I was a psychology major before I became an art major, and you can probably see that in some of my favorite pieces. I do smaller commissions A lot of times I'll paint people with their animals. That's a real specialty. Or just the pets. Certain colors just really resonate with me. You know, I love green, I love purple, so a lot of times the greens and the purples will appear. But I don't really have a specific palette. I try to use different colors and not always just get in the same rut of using the same colors. Now I've been doing some mixed media work too. I've been painting on top of collage surfaces, and also using oil paint sticks, which is oil paint in a crayon form, and kind of playing around with media and pushing that forward, updating kind of classical figurative work in a more contemporary style. I have a BFA and an MFA in painting. I was an art professor. I taught for 16 years before taking the leap and coming here to be part of this wonderful community.
I'm Bill Renzulli, and I moved here from Maryland in 2002. I'm a multimedia artist. I work in acrylics on canvas and panel, oil, soft pastel, oil pastels, and watercolor, in addition to mixed medias. People usually ask me what's my favorite medium, and my answer is the one that I'm working on. I don't start anything with any conscious agenda. I have no social or moral principles that I'm trying to establish. I simply paint what I feel like painting. I paint what I create images that I like to look at, and basically I have to let the viewer judge what my art is. I work from photographs. I'm a studio artist, and I don't consider myself a literalist. I'll take a photograph and then use that as just a point to take off from. I like to work on different things, and it's not unusual for me to have 3 or 4 different projects going at the same time. After a trip cross-country, several trips cross-country, driving across the Plain States, I was just fascinated by the landscape and the skies, and so I think that's had a significant influence. So I do a lot of commissions. My most recent large commission was to paint an entire street in Center City, Philadelphia. The painting turned out to be approximately 10 inches by 60 inches. Living in this artistic community, I believe that my art has just grown exponentially in the 5 years that I've been here.
My name is Julie Shaw, and I moved here from Ignacio, Colorado. My work is done all by hand. Basically, I cut all my metal out by hand with a small jeweler's saw. And I cut out many shapes that I then solder together using sterling silver, 18 karat gold, 22 karat gold. And I use precious and semi-precious stones. My work tends to be very colorful. I don't use much in the way of blacks and browns and dark tones. I do one-of-a-kind pieces, as well as I have a multiples line. My work is shown all over the United States, as well as Canada. My work tends to have a sort of a spiritual feeling to it, and I'm inclined toward Buddhism and that form of spirituality in my life, that all things are important, that all things matter. And I try to put that through in my work, that my work is positive, inclusive, and it comes from my heart. In my life, I've done different things. I lived in New York for 15 years before moving to Colorado. Then I came to Paducah, and now I have a big house where I live upstairs, my gallery in the front, my studio in the back. And it's just so interesting where life takes me and leads me. I'm always open to where it's going to.